welcome back or welcome to the What We Doin podcast, where I ask y'all and society, what are we doing? So today is our first series, and I'm very excited to talk about this because it's something that I truly love to do. I love to watch this. And so our first series is crime and romance. I love to watch crime documentaries. And so today's big question, what we will be discussing is, why do we consume crime? Before we get into that, I have two things just to properly introduce myself, because I did not do that during the first podcast video, and also our wine cocktail, our wine drink for today's video. So before we begin, of course, my name is Tati, or Leilah, the hostess with the mostest. I consider myself to be a creative multi-hyphenate. So what is a multi-hyphenate, you may say? Well, apparently to Google, it means it is a person, especially a celebrity, with several professions or skills. I know I am not famous. I am not a celebrity, but I am an actress, dancer, writer, producer, director. I do a lot of different things within the arts, the performing arts specifically, but I'm sort of trickling my way into the visual arts. I'm trying to focus on watercolor painting as well as doing some clay work. So be on the lookout for that. We'll see what happens. I'm 25 years old, who likes to drink, eat, and sleep, and act and dance and do all of those lovely things. So our drink of the evening, the star of the show, our red wine spritzer. I didn't think I was going to like this one just because it's quite bitter, but anything with wine, I will stomach it. Like, I will force myself to like it, but in a good way. Not force myself because others are trying to get me to drink it, but anything with wine, I will inevitably just drink it a little bit more and be like, actually, this is quite good. So the red wine spritzer, 3 ingredients, super easy. All you need is oranges for garnishes. I was about to say, all you need is oranges for garnishes. However, I put the oranges inside of the drink. I think oranges add a lot of good flavor, and it also absorbs some of the flavor. So it's just a nice fusion going on there, I think. And then all you need is a red wine, preferably dry, and then you need club soda. I'm not a fan of club soda, but in this, like I said, I will just try it out, see if I really like it, and it actually is quite good. It has a bitter taste to it. I think, of course, with that carbonation mixed with the red wine, it's inevitable, but it tastes quite good. I have a disclaimer. I may have a lot of energy, one, because this is a topic that I really want to talk about, but also, two, red wine, I don't know what it is, but me and red wine, we have a very unique relationship. It gives me a lot of energy, and it's weird if I have to eat, I have to eat protein when I have red wine. I have to have meat. So specifically maybe like a steak or something along those lines when I have red wine. Otherwise, I'm going to get a headache in the long run, which is so weird. But anyways, like I said, I would drink any and everything. That's enough talking about red wine. Let's get into today's topic. Why do we consume crime? So, crime documentaries. That's actually quite good. Crime documentaries. I enjoy watching crime documentaries, and for one of the reasonings why people consume crime is that it provides sort of an escapism, and I can agree to that wholeheartedly. It takes you out of the space that you're in, and you're just hooked onto what transpired and why did it transpire. And it's unfortunately, and I don't mean to say this to diminish anything that anyone has ever gone through in these crime documentaries, it's sort of something that, since we haven't experienced it, me speaking from my point of view, since I have not experienced something like that, and I thank God that I haven't, it seems as if I'm removed from that situation, and I just want to learn more about that situation, what occurred and why it occurred. It's sort of, I don't want to say that word. I don't want to say myth, but it's sort of, I'm just distanced from it because I have not experienced that myself. And so it provides a sort of escapism. And to quote unquote, all of my resources, again, will be in the description box. If there's something that I'm quoting, I'll make sure to put it on the screen below. If you're watching this on YouTube, it will be in the description box and I will put it in the video. But to quote unquote, learn the psychology of a criminal. And a 2010 study at the University of Illinois found that women tend to be drawn towards true crime documentaries more than men, and that they are more interested in stories that give insight into the killer's motives, that contain information about how victims escaped, and that feature female victims. I think with this statement, I feel like with this statement, here I go. I'm going to put a buzzword at the beginning. I'm going to put a buzzword at the beginning of each podcast just because I was about to say it again, just because there are certain words or phrases that I say multiple times, and I'm going to try and break that habit. I don't want you guys to keep listening to me saying the same thing over and over. So I'm going to try and put a buzzword at the beginning of each podcast. But for this specific study that the University of Illinois at Urbana campaign found, women tend to watch crime documentaries more than men. I think women in crime documentaries, women are mainly the targets. And it's unfortunate. No one should be the target, but it's unfortunate that women are seen as the weaker of men and women, which is debatable, but also can also be factual in certain circumstances. But for women to watch crime documentaries as a form of escapism, but also as a form of defense, to learn about the psychology of a criminal. Why did they do these things? What were their habits, or what qualities did they possess? A lot of the times when watching crime documentaries, I do find that some of the predators, some of them act as normal people. They learn how to mimic the average human being, normal human being, quote unquote. But they just learn how to mimic those emotions. Sometimes they don't even feel anything or don't even have emotions. And so it's kind of hard to go off of, what were their qualities? I'm pretty sure they're not going to show those exact qualities to you in front of your face. They're going to be able to put on an act, but maybe there are some things that people can pick up on when watching these crime documentaries and trying to differentiate between a normal person versus a psychopath or a criminal. So, yes, a lot of women watch it more than men, I think, to be on the more defensive side, to protect themselves. Psychotherapist Kathleen Check believes people watch true crime shows, particularly those about killers, so viewers understand how evil people think and operate, which in turn provides a better chance of knowing how to protect yourself, and said true crime media provided a particular kind of escapism. So again, like I mentioned before, just a way to protect yourself, a way to get into the mind of a potential perpetrator or predator, killer, and how can you get out of that situation if you're ever put into that situation. And I think that it's dangerous because it's providing a sort of false hope that you are going to be able to escape. I know this is a very scary topic to talk about. However, I think it needs to be definitely put out there. Every person is different in the way that they execute their plan, in the way that this is a very scary topic to talk about, but in the way that they execute their plan, it may not be like what you think, what you watched on this TV show or this crime documentary. This person may be entirely different of their approach, of their characteristics, personality, quality traits that they're trying to show you, the way that they may lure you, the way that they may keep you may be entirely different. So of course, sure, you can try and prep yourself for this kind of potential situation, but in the end, they can be entirely different from what you've seen and what you saw. Also, you can be entirely different from the victims, the reenactment of the victims that they've shown you what they did. Sure, you can think, well, I will never do that, or I'll make sure I would do this and do that, X, Y, and Z. But when you're put in situations like that, I think rational thinking goes out of the window. And everything that you thought you were going to do, everything that you prepared in your mind to do, it probably will not happen because you will be in a survivor mode And in survivor mode, I think you're just thinking about what is the quickest, easiest way out. You're not thinking about what was my training, what did I say I was going to do. I think that's just out of the window, unfortunately. Another reason why people watch crime documentaries is to unlock our natural desire to solve puzzles and mysteries and get to speculate as to why criminals may act the way they do. There's this one show, if I can find it, I'll make sure to put the poster or the title up, but there was something along the lines of Confessions of a Killer, and I wanted to watch that show just to potentially understand why they decided to do what they did. And there was really no clear reason. I forgot this one man. They asked him why that he harmed so many children, and I believe he did kill them. Why did he do that? And he just said because he felt like it. And so the interviewer asked him, well, what if somebody did that to your grandkids? If they killed your grandkids, harmed them, hurt them in any way? And he said, well, I'd kill them. And the interviewer said, well, don't you think the people that, the children's like families that you've taken them away from them, you don't think that they want to harm you? He's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. That there is no thought process behind that. There's no empathy. There's no remorse. There's no feeling behind that. So trying to even understand why they do what they do, it's just like hitting a brick wall. You're never going to be able to get inside that human's mind to really understand and learn why they do what they do. And we can keep trying. We can keep trying to learn and break it down. I know I should have put more research into this specific video, but there's another, and if I do find the series in the actual show, I will make sure to put the poster up here. But there was a show that showed there was a series that what's another word for showed? There's a series that depicted the FBI trying to figure out or capture their first serial killer. And I'm not sure if it was about Ted Bundy. I'm not sure, but it was their first time trying to catch a serial killer who the MO was the same. Everything that they would do to the victims was the same, but it was across different towns, and then it became across different states. And back then, they didn't have the technology as we do today to call them up or, email them something quick, scan it, email it to them, have everything on a digital file so it's easy to just ship out. Of course, back then they had to do the faxing, and they had to go check inside of the files and make sure they had all the information correct and right there. And, it was just such a hassle. And so everything was so delayed that back in the day, they could get away with anything. And even today, sure, you could still get away with a lot because we don't know every single thing or move that everybody makes. But we're getting there with technology and the advancement of tracking. We're getting there. But back then, of course, they didn't have the necessary technology to basically work across states. People had to drive sometimes across those states to catch their first serial killer. And I'll try and make sure I find it and put it on the screen and also in the description box. But yeah, no matter how hard we try, we'll just keep hitting brick walls of trying to understand why they do what they do or the way they think. We're just never going to get to that understanding. I hope we never get to that understanding because there's no justification and there is no really understanding of why they've done what they've done. All right, our next reason as to why we watch crime documentaries is because murder, rape, and theft have played a significant part in human society since our hunter-gatherer days. That's unfortunate and that is sad, since I understand these acts have been around for quite some time, and of course today it can be shared and unfortunately sensationalized, and we will talk about that in a second. But it's unfortunate that as humans we've had to resort to murder, rape, and theft in the past. And it's, yes, a whole horrible history that we have. And hopefully we can move away from that. And our last reasoning, there's the satisfaction of getting lost in a really good story. Again, it's sort of that escapism feeling that I was mentioning when we first started talking about why we watch crime documentaries, or why I specifically do. An escapism, I'm removed from that. I have not experienced that. So to hear from people who have, or the victims' families, and even the criminal themselves, it's just something that to experience, but from a distance. So why are we talking about this topic? Well, one, like I said, I like to consume crime documentaries. It provides that escapism, trying to understand, which I understand we will not understand. And a couple of months ago, the Jeffrey Dahmer series was released and had everybody in a chokehold. And I was just like, how did y'all not hear about Dahmer? How did y'all not know? So, good thing about documentaries, they're able to provide a report or record of factual events just to raise awareness around this specific topic of what they're showing. And so Dahmer, I guess, was not, and I guess I understand a little bit now, was not known to a degree. I guess for the newer generations and stuff, of course, they wouldn't have known, and since it's far removed. But yes, the Jeffrey Dahmer series had society, or at least from what I've seen, the society that I live in was in a chokehold about this series. And what's crazy is I didn't even watch the Jeffrey Dahmer series. I was going to, and I was planning on it. And I was staying at a friend's house one night, and she was on like the second to last episode, or like the ending of the second to last episode. So I saw those last bits, but I did not watch the series as a whole. I planned on it, but then I didn't watch it because I didn't know it was a series until social media was talking about it. I haven't watched TV in months, but yes, I didn't watch it until social media started talking about it. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I should watch it. But then I prefer documentaries that possess some of the victims' family members, or the victims themselves, who are okay with the story being put out there. Because I didn't watch Dahmer's series because the victims' families spoke out against it. They were not notified about this series being made. They had to relive these traumatic stories. And what I read, and I'll read the tweet in just a second, but what I read was that sometimes these victims' families just get a whole bunch of phone calls and text messages, and they know, like, okay, there must be another Dahmer series out there, another story being put out there. And that's so unfortunate that they have to live through that. And it made me sit back and think about, well, why do we consume crime? And what types of crime documentaries do we consume? Do we consume those who it doesn't possess any of the victims' families? Or there are some times where I do read that some family members agree to be in the documentary while others do not agree to be in the documentary. So I can respect that more. But to not even ask, and even if they say no, you should respect that and not do it. But I understand with this particular series, the producers of the show were saying how they wanted to shine a light on at that time homophobia and also racism in the system. How majority of Dahmer's victims, I believe 11 of them, were black and they were gay. And back then, they did not care about that. So when they receive phone calls of, my son is missing, he's black, he tends to hang out here, or maybe he did come out. Again, I didn't watch the series, so I don't know what the actual dynamics of the family situations were, if they knew all the information about their loved one, and sharing that with the police. Did the police just, of course, turn their heads and their nose up to it and didn't want to help? And so yeah, it just seems very difficult for me now. Ooh, my neighbor's dog is barking. I'm so sorry if you hear that. I guess let's wait until he's done having his temper tantrum. Okay, we're back. So, again, I think it started to make me question about the ethics of crime documentaries, and how I think at the beginning, let me see if I can pull it up, but I think at the beginning of the series they said something along the lines of, with respect to the victims or honoring the dignity of the families, but no one contacts them. And so how are you respecting these victims? How are you respecting the families if you're not trying to contact them, compensate them, or anything? I think that would definitely help you in the long run, because now I think some of the victims' families are trying to sue the producers or whoever, not sure if it's Netflix producers, whatever, but they're trying to sue because they were not informed, then they were not involved, and they were not asked to be involved. As well as Dahmer's father, Lionel Dahmer, plans to sue Netflix because of the portrayal. And I think also this specific series cannot be counted, or it could be sort of as a documentary, but I think it's more of a reenactment, a series. And I'm really not a fan of reenactments, just because, again, one, you weren't there. How can you possibly portray exactly what the perpetrator and the victim did? And why would you want to portray that, you know? It's kind of sad to think that, and I'm trying to put on my director's hat now, how would I even begin to show that? And then think in the back of my mind, well, maybe the victim's family will watch this and they have to see that reenactment. I would prefer just to have, more of those crime documentaries showing the interviews, maybe, sure, so showing some of the evidence and the crime scene, and having the victims' families interviews in there as well, and just tying it all together. But it's really a question of ethics of why we consume this material, and who do we involve, and how does it get passed? I guess, how does it get approved to pass on and be put out there for the world to see? So this whole situation definitely made me go back and rethink, wow, how do I consume crime documentaries? Why do I consume them? And is it ethical for me to be consuming specific media that doesn't even allow the victims' families to have a voice and be heard? So it has really caused me to go back and think about these things. And yeah, those are the reasons why we consume crime. I know this episode might be very short, but there's a series, and I'm pretty sure our next video, this is something that I've always wanted to talk about. And if I could perform research on this and actually do a documentary about it, I would love to. It may not be obviously within the next 2-3 years, but I would love to perform research on hybristophilia. Our second video in our series of crime and romance will be about hybristophilia. And I will explain what that is. If you want to go ahead and look it up, you definitely can. But next Wednesday, we will be discussing that. And I hope you will be there to watch and you see how excited I am to talk about it. It's a very gory subject, but I just want to be able to talk about it with people, because no one seems to taken aback by it. I am taken aback by it, but we're going to discuss that at another time. So again, thank you so much. If you made it this far into the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those good things for me, especially commenting, because I do want to have conversation with you all inside of the comments about crime documentaries, consuming crime. If you don't consume crime documentaries and you gave this a listen anyways, what do you think about crime documentaries and why don't you consume them? Again, thank you so much. And remember, I didn't even drink a lot, but it's okay. I'm going to drink this off camera. But remember, good wine, good times. Thank you for tuning in.